For 4 decades, I chased formulas, strategies, and promises of financial freedom. I read the books, watched the markets, and sought out every secret I could find. And then one day it hit me. Getting rich is simple, not easy, but simple. The biggest difference between someone who builds wealth and someone who stays trapped in financial anxiety has nothing to do with intelligence, luck, or secret knowledge. It comes down to habits. Habits so basic, so obvious, that most people overlook them entirely. Why? Because simplicity is uncomfortable. Simplicity forces us to admit that maybe, just maybe, our failure wasn't fate. It was a choice. Let's pause right here. If you're ready to take control of your financial future, this is the time to make a move. Subscribe to the channel and like this video. Each week, we bring you insights that challenge the way you see money and give you the tools to change your life. Now, back to what really matters. The world loves to complicate money. It gives it names like ETFs, derivatives, blockchain, and inflation hedging. It builds layers of noise so thick that we stop seeing the most powerful truths hiding in plain sight. Spend less than you earn. Invest what's left. Avoid debt. Think long-term. Delay gratification. That's it. That's the formula. But here's the uncomfortable reality. That formula isn't popular because it's boring, and it hurts our ego. It shows us that our financial stress didn't come from a lack of talent. It came from a lack of discipline. Our missed opportunities weren't fate. They were choices. I had to learn that the hard way. I built a life full of status, high numbers, and professional success. But I had no freedom. My money wasn't working for me. I was working for my money. Everything changed the day I stopped chasing complexity and started respecting simplicity. This video is not just theory. I'm going to walk you step by step through what took me 40 years to figure out. These lessons cost me money, time, and pride, but they'll save you years of mistakes if you're willing to listen. If you've been stuck in a cycle of debt, scarcity, and frustration, it's time to meet the tool that changed everything for me, the 136 method. This method ensures you always have money to cover your needs, invest in your future, and enjoy life without being held hostage by your paycheck. It's not a magic bullet, but it's practical, reliable, and proven. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Wealth isn't about math. It's about mindset. The problem isn't in your spreadsheet. It's in your mirror. We overspend because we're trying to fill emotional gaps with purchases. That's not a financial issue. That's a behavioral issue. A person who earns $2,000 and saves $200 is closer to financial freedom than someone earning $20,000 and spending $21,000. Discipline beats income. Every time. It's easy to say yes to brunch, to sales, to impulse buys. But it's the people who say no, who delay gratification, who build quietly, who look back years later with pride. Everyone else just has bills and regrets. Let me give you a clear example. Two people with the same $8,000. One buys a flashy new phone to keep up appearances. The other invests in stocks from companies like WG or It2. One is buying an image. The other is buying future freedom. And the only difference between them isn't income, it's mindset. Wealth doesn't come to those who wish for it. It comes to those who behave like they deserve it. This isn't about talent or genius. It's about consistency. Small, invisible habits. The courage to be boring for a few years while others seek attention and status. You're planting now what will grow later. If you have the patience not to quit, that patience becomes a kind of superpower. Most people don't quit because they're incapable. They quit because they're bored. Investing, budgeting, sticking to a plan, it's not glamorous. It's slow. And that slowness is what separates those who make it from those who pretend. Here's a secret no one tells you. The real reason most people stay poor isn't a lack of opportunity. It's the refusal to get uncomfortable. It's the need to impress. To appear rich instead of becoming rich. The ones who flaunt wealth with luxury cars, branded clothes, and credit card vacations are usually the ones drowning in debt. They want to win the applause of strangers at the cost of their future peace. But nobody's watching. Nobody really cares. And that's the tragedy. The show costs everything and buys nothing. Real wealth requires invisibility. It demands that you trade "look at what I have" for "look at what I'm building." It's hard to do because the world celebrates consumption and mocks discipline. But the truth? One day you'll be buying things with cash while others are still paying off interest on purchases they barely remember. And when you get there, you'll see those who laughed at your frugality now asking how you did it. Before we move on, reflect on this. If any part of what you've heard so far hit you, if you found yourself nodding, feeling seen, or even uncomfortable, it means there's truth here. And if you've ever felt alone in this journey, you're not. Leave a comment sharing your experience. You never know who your words might help today. Let's get honest about debt. Most people think building wealth is about chasing a higher salary. But if you're sinking in debt, a pay raise won't save you. It will only expand the hole. Debt is financial quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. Avoiding debt isn't glamorous. It won't get you applause. But it's one of the most powerful, underrated financial decisions you can ever make. Every time you refuse to finance something you can't afford, you're not just saving money. You're buying peace of mind. You're protecting your future. And yet, I see it all the time. People trading freedom for a fleeting thrill. A 30-minute shopping high in exchange for 30 months of regret. Why? Because the marketing is loud. The credit is easy. The pressure to say yes is constant. But here's a harsh truth. If you spend more than you earn, it doesn't matter how much you make. You'll never feel secure. I've met people earning six figures living paycheck to paycheck. And I've met people with modest incomes who quietly built wealth over time. What made the difference? Not IQ, not luck, just a simple decision to stay out of debt. Debt doesn't just drain your wallet. It drains your focus, your energy, your clarity. You start chasing faster solutions, riskier opportunities, desperate escapes. But once you're out of debt, your money starts working with you, not against you. So don't fall for the trap of earning more fixes everything. If you can't say no to what's unnecessary, no income will be enough. And this leads us to one of the most valuable skills in personal finance. The art of saying no. No to unplanned dinners. No to trendy gadgets. No to pressure from friends. No to emotional spending. Every no is a quiet act of power. The power to prioritize your future over momentary pleasure. And the funny thing is, people who master their finances often seem a little cold. Not because they are, but because they've developed clarity. They've realized that saying no today gives them the power to say yes to freedom tomorrow. And this discipline, it doesn't start big. It starts in the smallest moments. Saying no to yourself when you want that extra takeout. Saying no to that monthly subscription you barely use. Saying no to financing something just to keep up appearances. That's how wealth is built, in moments that no one sees. Each time you say no, you build a muscle of wealth. And like any muscle, it grows with repetition. I learned this the hard way. I used to say yes to everything, to gifts, to loans, to dinners I couldn't afford, all in the name of being generous or staying connected. But it was costing me everything, my peace, my progress, my financial sanity. Eventually, I realized something painful but freeing. Every time I said yes to everyone else, I was saying no to my own stability. You can't build wealth from guilt or fear of disappointing people. You build it with boundaries and bold decisions. And one of the boldest decisions you can make is to reevaluate how you use your free time. Time is the quiet killer of financial potential. How you use your hours when no one is watching says more about your future than your paycheck ever will. Do you use your evenings to learn, to plan, to budget? Or do they disappear into endless scrolling, binge watching, or shopping to escape boredom? One person spends weekends shopping. Another uses that same time to learn about investing, read The Richest Man in Babylon, or set up a budget. 10 years from now, guess who's living with freedom and who's still stuck in survival? The difference isn't intelligence. It's intention. Let me pause here for a moment and ask you something important. Are you subscribed to this channel? You'd be surprised. Most people who watch our videos never hit that button. So check now. Make sure you're subscribed and turn on notifications. That way, you'll never miss the content that could reshape your future. Back to it. Financial growth doesn't happen when you're being told what to do. It happens when no one's watching, when you choose to act on your goals without pressure. The richest people don't get wealthy at work. They get wealthy in the hours most people waste. Not because they're obsessed with hustle, but because they've trained themselves to think differently. You see, there's a lie being sold out there that working harder will make you rich. But effort without direction is just exhaustion. Most people are busy but not strategic. They're constantly moving but never advancing. And that's because they haven't learned to think clearly. Real wealth begins when you stop reacting and start planning. You don't say yes to every gig, every offer, every extra income promise. You begin asking, does this move me closer to freedom or deeper into chaos? That one question changes everything. I've seen people double their income without doubling their hours, simply by shifting their mindset. They started packaging their knowledge into courses, launching small online businesses, offering consulting based on skills they already had. The transformation didn't come from more effort. It came from better thinking. Your mind is your most powerful asset. But if it's constantly filled with noise, distractions, and survival thoughts, it'll never produce lasting wealth. Thinking better means choosing where your mental energy goes. It means scheduling time to reflect, to learn, to question. That's worth more than any overtime. And once you get that, you realize something even deeper. Not investing is a decision, one that costs more than you think. There's this dangerous belief that earning a paycheck is enough. But money that comes in and goes right back out isn't growing. It's leaking. If you're not investing, even in small amounts, you're essentially committing to work forever. Because money only buys time when it multiplies. You don't need thousands to start. You need a habit, a rhythm, a mindset. I've seen ordinary people build extraordinary wealth over 20, 30 years with modest incomes, just by respecting compound interest and showing up every month. While others bought flashy things, they bought peace. While others were loud, they were consistent. And today, they live off passive income, free, quiet, and unbothered. That's what I want for you. Before we continue, take a moment. Is there someone in your life who needs to hear this? Someone drowning in debt, struggling with self-doubt, or chasing the next big thing while sabotaging their future? Share this video with them. It might be the message that changes everything. Here's the hard truth. Boredom is where most fortunes are lost. Not because people made bad decisions, but because they couldn't sit still. They couldn't wait. They needed excitement, stimulation, the rush of something new. But wealth? Wealth is boring. It's doing the same smart thing over and over while everyone else chases the next shiny object. That's when the temptations come. A hot new stock, a guaranteed crypto project, a business opportunity that promises 10x returns. And it all seems harmless, just a little risk. But over time, these little risks detour you from the quiet path to real financial freedom. The truth? Most people don't fail because of bad strategy. They fail because of too much anxiety, because they can't sit with discomfort. They get nervous, distracted, impulsive. They change plans, cancel investments, abandon routines. They confuse noise for progress. But wealth doesn't scream. It whispers, and only the patient can hear it. It's the ones who stay the course, who keep showing up, who do the simple things with consistency. They're the ones who build something real, while others are reinventing themselves every month, trying every trend, chasing shortcuts. These people are compounding wealth in silence. And here's the irony. Patience, over time, looks like genius. But it's not. It's just a rare choice in a world addicted to speed. The greatest financial shift you can make is to stop thinking like someone who needs quick results. Start thinking like someone building for decades. Because that's what the truly wealthy do. They don't try to win next week. They play the long game. They don't need to impress anyone today, because they're building a life that no one else can take tomorrow. That's why focusing on income alone is a trap. I've watched people earn more and still remain broke, because no raise can fix bad habits. What matters isn't just what you make, it's what you keep. And more than that, it's who you become. Becoming wealthy isn't just about finance. It's about identity. You have to become someone who values your future more than your impulses. Someone who isn't afraid of the word no. Someone who learns to protect their peace, even if it means disappointing others. Because here's another truth no one likes to admit. Sometimes, the people around you are the real reason you're broke. Not because they're evil, but because they influence you. Your circle shapes your choices. They make you think spending is normal. That debt is a way of life. That investing is weird. If you're surrounded by people who normalize financial chaos, you're going to stay stuck. If you're constantly defending your boundaries instead of building your future, you're wasting energy on the wrong battles. Sometimes cutting expenses is enough. You have to cut relationships. You don't need to be elitist, but you do need to be intentional. Your environment must support your goals, not sabotage them, because no financial strategy can compete with the damage done by constant negative influence. Here's the breakthrough. Once you start surrounding yourself with the right people who save, grow, plan, and believe, you don't even have to be the smartest. You just have to stay in the game. Because success doesn't always come to the most talented. It comes to the most consistent. Consistency beats brilliance. The person who reads 10 pages a day builds a library in their mind. The one who saves a small amount every month builds a fortune. The one who improves just 1% each week builds a new identity. Success is not one leap. It's 1,000 steps in the same direction. That's how ordinary people build extraordinary lives. Not because they knew everything, but because they refused to give up. They kept going, even when no one was cheering. They honored their promises to themselves. And in doing so, they built unshakable confidence. Confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from proof. When you start seeing results from your own discipline, you stop doubting yourself. You stop waiting for motivation. You become self-driven. And that's when everything changes. You're no longer chasing trends. You're creating a path. You're no longer asking permission. You're making decisions. You're no longer hoping for success. You're engineering it. The richest people I've studied don't play the short game. They don't make decisions in panic. They don't copy the crowd. They walk their own path with quiet conviction. Because while the world obsesses over this week, they're thinking in decades. And when you think in decades, everything shifts. You stop reacting. You stop comparing. You start building. Because you finally realize that financial freedom is not about being the loudest. It's about being the clearest. Most people want the reward of wealth, but they don't want the sacrifice. They want the freedom, but not the discipline. They want the admiration, but not the silence. You've come this far. You've absorbed the truth most people ignore. You've faced the uncomfortable ideas. And that alone already separates you from the average, because the average follows the crowd. But the extraordinary build their own way. The truth is, wealth was always simpler than it seemed. You just needed the right lens to see it. Now you have it. So let me ask you, after everything you've heard, what lesson hit you the hardest? What insight are you going to apply starting today? Leave a comment below and share it. Because transformation begins with recognition, and the most powerful decision you'll ever make is to finally change.